War Eagle, War Rapport family. I'm your host, C Dub. Bryan Matthews from AuburnSports.com joins us to discuss a very hot topic in this offseason, recruiting. So, guys, please be sure to bring your questions. We're going to have an excellent discussion around this topic on tonight's special edition of the Midweek Report. War Eagle, everyone. War Eagle, War Eagle. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Welcome to the latest edition of the Midweek Report, brought to you by show sponsor, AuburnSports.com. Guys, for your latest fix in terms of recruiting and all news related to Auburn athletics, please be sure to head on over to AuburnSports.com. Appreciate them for definitely showing us love early and throughout our relationship with them. So shouts out to them. Shouts out to you guys for actually hanging out with us on a Wednesday night. Whether you're watching live or on replay, guys, we need you to do us a favor. If you're on Facebook and Twitter, please be sure to share this video, guys. Help people to find our content. We're going to have a great discussion tonight, so we definitely want people to see this, have access to it, so you know what to do. Help us to grow this community. Also, don't be out here just lurking. Smash the like button. And if you're new to the channel, definitely hit the subscribe notification bell so you'll be notified when we definitely go live. Now, as for this patron talk, you need to become one. Someone's going to tell you why.
Yes, sir. We're going to talk about being a patron means that you are an upstanding citizen of America, and you're probably going to get like a tax refund or something like that. And the president may personally come and shake your hand at some point in time in the very near future. All of those are lies, but what is true is right there on your screen is that you will get early access to content and some special exclusive things. I should have restricted tonight to the members only because we got a guest in the house, but I'm being nice because I'm a nice guy like that. But you do get exclusive things like if you're a member already, then you know Zach Calzada sat down and did an interview with us. That goes live for everyone tomorrow. But members, you guys have been able to access that for a week. What members do already have access to as of Monday is an interview we did with Marquise Burks. So Marquise Burks, defensive tackle for Auburn, sat down with us. So you have an opportunity right now. Well, not right now. After the show is over with, you can go watch that if you're a member. Everybody else, you guys get that next week. But tomorrow we will have Zach Calzada for you all. We're going to give away another one of these wonderful mugs for you all tonight. So hashtag get your weight up in the comments. This is sponsored by War Eagle Oil. Make sure you get your spelling correct on that when you're putting that in the comments. But hashtag get your weight up in the comments. We will be giving that away right around the 1 hour mark. You have to be present to win. If you are not here, sadly, we will move on to some other name. But we are ready to get into this conversation. Let's do it.
Gentlemen, how are we doing this lovely Wednesday? Of course, guys, B Will is off tonight, so it's the three of us plus one. We got Bryan Matthews.
We just switched out of Bryan. This is
different. That's all. There will be a Bryan on the show.
Yeah.
B Matt, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. It's great to be in with you guys. I really appreciate you having me and look forward to talking a little Auburn recruiting.
Yep.
Yeah, recruiting.
It's been a pretty busy month or so. A lot of activity on the plains as it pertains to recruiting and camps and whatnot. You've been covering it at all. And for those who aren't aware, on AuburnSports.com, Bryan Matthews writes pretty much every Monday what he calls B Matt's Monday Musings. And just recent one, he actually talked pretty extensively about the legwork this coaching staff has put in terms of getting a lot of recruits on campus, whether it be through official visits, unofficial visits for 2024, 2025 kids and camps. And so I think Auburn hosted maybe like approximately 30 official visitors, a lot of them who are highly sought after and recruits. And one of the things you pointed out, B. Matt, is you took note of the culture around Auburn, and you begin to notice some things this year beginning to take shape. Care to elaborate on some of the things that you've observed being around the coaching staff and the players this past month or so?
Yeah, I guess the two major things I observed this summer, and I went to most of the camps. I was over there for all the official visits. And when you do that, you get to talk to players off the record. You get to hang out with coaches and talk to them a little bit, and you get a sense of what's going on, right? So the two things that I point out in that column were, one, I felt like they did a great job, and I mean that great, in getting kids on campus. And a big improvement from what happened last year and what had happened earlier this year in January, for example. They got those 30 officials in. They also got a bunch of 2024s and 2025s in for unofficial visits and for camps. So I think that part of the recruiting process was done really, really well. And it was a big improvement for them. And they deserve credit for that. And not just Bryan Harsin, but that whole staff. You know, they've hired all these off the field, people as developmental operations, all those recruiting staff, analysts and such, and they all did a terrific job. But, that's just one step of the process. You got to make those relationships and you got to win those recruiting battles, right? You got to beat Clemson. You got to beat Alabama, LSU, Florida, Georgia, etc. And we'll see how that goes. And the other thing, as you mentioned, you can tell from the coaches and the players that there is a definite buy-in within the whole program. I felt like the players and coaches were all on the same page. They all believed in what they were doing. They're all the work hard, tough-minded types. I just think in that respect, things are going really well at Auburn. And I do think that's one component of winning. I don't think it's the most important component, right? You can have all that and still go 6-6 or whatever. But I do think that was a step forward. And I've covered a lot of teams at Auburn, and that hasn't always been the case. And, you can still win when it's not the case as long as you have the right people on your side, right? But in this respect, I feel like everybody I talked to, most of the program is on Harsin's side and really behind him in the way he's running his ship.
B. Matt, there is this is supposed to be the greatest class in state history, right? Like
one of the best, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot about this class. What kind of progress are they making on this class here? What realistically?
Yeah,
we're gonna be able to pluck a few.
That's the big question, right? That they've got to win some. They've done the legwork now, but then again, you got to remember some of these schools like Alabama and Georgia, Clemson have been doing that legwork for 2 or 3 years for some of these kids.
Right.
So that puts Auburn in a tough spot sometimes. But they do need to win some of these. They've won one in Braden Joyner, right? And they won one other in Georgia, and that's it so far. So I checked yesterday just to look. And it doesn't necessarily matter on June 29th what the rankings are, but Auburn's 85th in the country and last in the SEC. And that's mostly due to them just having 2 commitments. And I think everybody else in the SEC has 5 or 6 or more. Some are up over, well over into double digits. So that's just where Auburn stands. As far as winning some of those battles, well, there's going to be one announced here on Friday, and that's Jeremiah Cobb. If you want to jump right into it, I think that's one Auburn can and probably will win. I'm not saying that for certain, but I like Auburn's chances. One of the biggest reasons I like Auburn's chances is Cadillac Williams. He's one of Auburn's best recruiters, him and Zach Etheridge. No surprise, those two are 2 of Auburn's best. And the 2 positions I don't necessarily worry about in recruiting right now are running back and defensive back. Auburn did a great job with those 2 positions in the last class, and I think they're going to do it again in this class with those 2 coaches. So I like Auburn's chances with Jeremiah Cobb, and then we'll see after that, right?
I'm just want to follow up talking about the offensive side of the ball, because it seems like in the portal and in recruiting, they're not having any problem getting defensive players to commit. But offensively, what is the feeling about the evaluation of the talent at the skill positions that they're recruiting?
It's interesting because if you go back the last few years with Kevin Steele, Auburn has recruited, evaluated, and developed the defensive side of the ball better than the offense for years now. And Bryan Harsin inherited a better defense than he did an offense as far as talent goes.
That's facts.
And that's still the case. And it hasn't changed. I think the biggest problem on offense has been offensive tackle recruiting and quarterback high school quarterback recruiting and development, right? Those have been the two big sore spots. I still worried about offensive tackle. And then, you look at quarterback and they lost out the kid from Birmingham to Clemson, the number one guy. And then the 1B guy, Brock Glenn, came down for an official visit. His first name is Auburn. He's got family ties to the school. I felt like Auburn was in great shape then. He did go on Ohio State visit here over the last couple of weeks, and I think that's sort of thrown a wrench into his recruitment. He was going to announce here soon at the Elite 11. I'm not sure if that's going to happen now, but I think the best thing for Auburn now is for him to step back a minute and take some time, reevaluate, and maybe Auburn can get him back for Big Cat before he makes a decision. So I don't know if it's Auburn or Ohio State for him right now, but I'd be a little concerned that the Buckeyes have sort of moved in front based on where their program's at and what they've done with quarterbacks over the last several years.
So let me ask a follow-up here about just, you mentioned the areas of concern. Do you feel like that is offensive line's got to be a priority, right? Like the quarterback room, we talked a little bit about this last week, seems to, unless we have transfers, seems to be like we've got some depth there for the next few years. So I don't know if there's like an urgency there, but offensive line, even though there's a ton of guys in that room, a lot of them are seniors, fifth-year seniors. Like, we're going to lose a ton of experience out of that room. Do you feel like Auburn is prioritizing that right now? And, what's that pipeline even looking like right now?
Well, to my calculation, I think Auburn returns 6 scholarship offensive linemen. Now, maybe a guy like Killian Zaire will turn for a year. I think he's got at least a year eligibility left, so there could be others, but that remains a concern. And real quick, quarterback, even if Auburn misses on Brock Glenn, I think quarterback is a position that if you're a 5-star quarterback, you go to a school, you finish second in a competition, you're in the portal right away. So there's going to be opportunities if Auburn has to have a quarterback this year or next year in December to go grab somebody really good. Potentially championship level good.
That kid from Ohio State is a good example of that, right? Quinn Ewers, I think he was. He committed. He was like the number 2 player ever in the history of football. And he committed to Ohio State and didn't play. And now he's at Texas.
Yep, and that's going to happen every single year. So that's going to be there for schools like Auburn if they have to fall back on it. Offensive tackle is more of a developmental position, especially at Auburn. Right. Unless you're signing one of the top tackles in the country, you're going to get a guy that's going to be in the program 2 or 3 years before he starts. Right. I mean, some of the studs can come in and start right away, sure, but Auburn's not in on those guys right now. I do think that Auburn is in position to sign some good offensive linemen. Stanton Rainbow from Alabaster, I think he's more of a, take a couple of years to get bigger and stronger, but he is got a tackle body, which Auburn lacks in a lot of their current offensive linemen. I think he officially visited North Carolina, Tennessee, Michigan State, Penn State, but I think he was sort of putting an emphasis on visiting out-of-state schools. So I think Auburn's still in good shape for him. One guy to really watch is Raquez McElderry from Anniston, committed to Georgia early. Auburn has really recruited him hard, and I think if Auburn is going to flip anybody from a big school, I think Auburn's probably in the best shape for him. And then a couple of guys that came in for visits. Connor Liu is like a center/guard. If you sign him and the kid Braden Joyner, who they currently got committed, one's got to move to guard probably, maybe Braden. The thing with him is he loves Auburn's flight program, but Auburn's also competing against Clemson, Miami, and Georgia for him. Those are Clemson and Georgia are 2 schools they don't win a lot of recruiting battles right now against. So this will be a big one to watch.
Nick Brahms need to get on top of that thing.
Yeah,
flight program guy, center. Come on, man, make it happen.
Well, he
Nick.
was his player host. He was his player host.
Okay.
And then DJ Chester came in for a visit too. I think he's one that Auburn's in pretty good shape for. Although he's probably going to wait. He's not going to jump on board. I don't think in June or July. LSU and FSU are 2 schools I think most involved with him. And then Auburn has not, made a push for him yet, but watch out for Bison Lang, I think is how you say his name, from Pike Road. He's another guy that's a pretty good player that Auburn could maybe make a strong push for after this next cycle goes through and they see how things work out on the offensive line. But I think Auburn, which really failed getting some transfer offensive linemen in this past offseason, with the situation they'll be in with so many opening spots, maybe 3 or 4 starters gone, maybe all 5. They'll be in position to sign a really good class of transfers too at that position. I know it's not ideal, it's not what you want, but you got to do whatever you can to be competitive. And I think that's what's going to end up happening. Maybe 2, 3, or 4 high school kids, and then another 2 or 3 transfer offensive tackles, offensive linemen.
O-line is such a developmental position. You're not going to get a whole class of kids that are going to be ready to start game one that are true freshmen in our league, being physically ready to play at this level. How much do you think that affects how they recruit the skill positions? Finding a dynamic quarterback, anything you can to cover what inevitably may be a step back at offensive line until that class of recruits catches up.
It's an interesting question, because if that offensive line is not functioning, it doesn't matter how good your quarterback is. We saw that in the Super Bowl a couple years ago with Kansas City, right? Yeah. They got destroyed. I forget who they were playing, but they, both their tackles, I think, were hurt in that game, and they got beat up pretty good. So I'm not sure there is a fallback plan. I think it's, let's get those guys in we can get in to make the best of it, and continue to try to assign good players at the other positions too. I think Auburn's good at running back. I expect Tank to leave, but they got Damari Alston in. They're going to sign another good one this class, probably Jeremiah Cobb. We'll find out Friday, and I think they got some other good guys back too. So I like Sean Jackson, even though he's a former walk-on. I just like his running style.
Yeah.
At wide receiver, I think that's another position that struggled. I think it was tough under Gus Malzahn, because he ran a system that really wasn't pro ready, and other teams used that against Auburn in recruiting. I do think, though, that the 3 freshmen and the 2 transfers are going to help out this season. I think Amari Kelly has been a guy that has stood out during summer workouts over the last couple of weeks. And I think that even though I don't think Coy Moore or the Worsham kid, Daslin Worsham, are all SEC players necessarily, but I think they make Auburn better at the receiver position, much better. Mm-hmm. I mean, Coy Moore could be the number 5 or 6 receiver at LSU and be number 1 at Auburn, and that's just how it is right now.
Yeah, I think they were recruiting that position obviously much better than we were. So It's not out of the question that somebody who couldn't crack the starting lineup at a place like LSU, where they've been producing high-level wide receivers for a few years, could come here and be a star playing with one of our quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
Brian, you mentioned wide receivers, and we got a question here from Blake Robinson. Appreciate you, Blake. He asked, do you think Auburn still gets English, as in Carmelo English, the 4-star wide receiver prospect out of the Phoenix City area? Do you still think Auburn gets him, despite him delaying his announcement, which I believe was supposed to be the day after Cobb announced his commitment, correct?
Yeah, and I don't know the reason Carmelo pushed it back necessarily, but I do still think Auburn's in good shape there. And the one thing with Carmelo, he's also got to hit his books really hard, this summer and into the fall too, from a academic qualifying standpoint. But I think Michigan and Kentucky are involved. I don't know if a new school has stepped up in there, but I do think Auburn remains in pretty good shape there. And I would still, if I had to pick where he's going, I'd still pick Auburn for him. It's just a matter of maybe waiting a little bit longer. Maybe they can get him in for Big Cat, and I know they're trying to make Big Cat a big thing, not only getting kids here, but also having some commitments come out of that. So maybe that's another area that they can do.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned Big Cat, and I know we're in a dead period right now, which pretty much is going to last for a good bit of July. And I think coming off of the dead period, that's when they expect to do Big Cat. Big Cat has traditionally been held earlier in the year, like around May or June at the latest. Is there any particular strategy, reason for why they're doing it after the dead period, or just under this coaching staff, they're tending to do it later?
Well, really, if you look at the calendar now with the official visits in June, every weekend in June is just slap full of those. So if you try to hold a gigantic, recruiting event, it's just not going to work out with those official visits. So they had to move it to the end of July. It'll be July 30th, which is a Saturday. And it just makes sense, every weekend from May 27th through those 4 weekends in June or whatever it was full of official visitors. And then you got a 4-week dead period we just started right now. And then you get that week between the dead period ending and fall practice starting, and that's the only weekend you can do it. So it fits perfectly. And it's not just Auburn. There's going to be a bunch of schools holding similar, not Big Cats, but whatever they call them, cookouts, whatever events that weekend.
Mm-hmm. Feels like we need to rename that Big Cat weekend.
Well,
Yeah.
it hadn't been a weekend for a while, but I kind of like Big Cat. It's got that history to it. It's been around since
Jazzy.
Trooper and those guys, and you kind of like how it's been very successful too. So I don't know. I kind of like it how it is.
What is the feeling about the offseason drama, B Matt? Like, has this staff put all that stuff that happened early this year behind them in recruiting, or is it still? Do you think Brian Harson's job security is playing a role in why we don't have as many commits at this point?
Both. I think the staff has sort of put it behind them, right? Because there's nothing they can do about it, but it is having an effect. I think other schools are smartly using that against Auburn. Just got emergency alert. Sorry.
No. iPhone?
Yeah. But I mean, and it is affecting Auburn, right? I think it's making it a little bit tougher on them. It's sort of a self-inflicted wound that Auburn has done time and again. It's just so it has put them in a tough place. But then again, he's going to be judged on results. Coaches are going to say in everything like this, there's no excuses. You either get it done or you don't. I mean, it's not necessarily fair on him and his staff, but he's partially responsible for it too. So it is what it is, right? But yes, it is having an effect.
Yeah, my last question about this is: do you think that the early signing period maybe hurts Auburn a little bit because we're going to get so many recruits late in the process?
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that, but you're dead on. In this specific case, I think it does hurt Auburn because everybody else is just cruising right along. They're going to get their 15 to 20 commitments or 12 or so before the season starts. And Auburn, who knows where they're going to be? Hopefully, they can get to double digits. That's what they want. And then when that happens, if you have eight commitments and a school has 15, even if your 8 commitments are better than any of their 15, their ranking's going to be higher, much higher,
Right.
because most rankings, including rivals, count your top 20. So if you're short 3, 4, or 5 to 20, you're going to be well behind somebody who's got the max or is closer to the max. So, you go back to last year, Auburn was 71st, I think, nationally in recruiting at the end of the season. And man, that was tough to overcome. And that's a situation they really need to avoid this year because, he is under more pressure. You don't want to go 7-5 or 6-6 or whatever and have one of the worst classes in the SEC and be ranked 70th or whatever in the country in recruiting. That would all add up to a lot of negativity around the program and make it tougher to recruit and tougher for him to stay at Auburn.
Just, I mean, out of curiosity, because I definitely don't know how this works. How, Zach Etheridge is I don't know what his technical title is with recruiting, but he's the person who's basically over the department. How does that work during the season, right? Like, I know he's got a bunch of auxiliary staff, but like, how are they able to continue that recruiting process and land potential recruits while the season is going on with some of your staff who would be part of the recruiting process having to be devoted to game planning?
Well, Zach is a secondary coach and recruiting coordinator. That was one of the titles he gets. But I think a lot of times for those assistant coaches, those on the field, those 10 on the field coaches, or is it 9? A lot of those titles are not necessarily meaningful in certain ways as like, Zach's got a whole, bunch more responsibilities with this because over the past 10 to 15 years, staffs have grown so large. So, before you'd have a special teams coach be one of the assistant coaches. Well, now they've got an analyst that does special teams only, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every assistant coach has a part of special teams when they're practicing on the field. So it's not as big a job as maybe it used to be. Maybe you'd have your tight end special teams coach, and now you still have that, but the duties are different. And Zach is over recruiting, but they have got just more than a dozen other people, that are involved with that program. So he has plenty of help, plenty of analysts that can help break down film for him. Plenty of guys. Every coach has a GA or analyst under them that can do a lot of their recruiting for them. In certain ways. So it's a whole staff now doing it and not just one guy, trying to, handle all the responsibilities for himself.
The rules around NIL are starting to form a little bit. It seems like the staff has a lot more leeway in NIL than they did 3 months ago. We've seen Ohio State formed a whole department that can now connect student athletes with brands, things that we previously thought were supposed to be against the spirit of the rules.
Right.
What is the sense about what effect NIL is having on these commitments, and should we expect some donors to start dropping bags here to get recruiting rolling?
It's hard to really know exactly what's going on with NIL across the country, because I think a lot of the stuff being said and being reported is not necessarily factual as far as some of the dollar figures that are being thrown out. And I do think Auburn has worked really hard to put together a strong NLI packages for some of these players and current players and recruits. But it's it's hard to know exactly what they're offering compared to other schools too. And I don't have a really great answer for that, to be honest with you. And you don't hear to me, it seems like a lot of the schools offer similar things, so it still comes down to the same things it always does, and that's relationships and where the kid thinks he can go and win championships and be developed the most. So so we'll see. But yeah, I wish I had a better answer on NIL for you. I just don't know enough to really nail down an opinion on that.
Yeah, it feels like the community has to step up here. I saw a kid from Texas sign a Lamborghini NIL deal.
Yeah, like Bijan Robinson, their running back, I think.
Yeah. Right. Lamborghini of Austin. And so I was trying to explain to somebody, I was like, that's not a national Lamborghini deal. That's that local Lamborghini dealership. And the guy's probably a Texas alum, because I don't know how many kids are seeing, I'm going to go buy a Lamborghini because he's not getting a return on that. No. The people who buy Lamborghinis, they're going to buy Lamborghinis or not. So I think it really is on the community to step up and start to fill the gap here with NIL, and for the university to help educate the community on how they can get involved. So if you're a former alumni turned business owner, here's how you can get involved. And, here's apparatus through which you can reach players. I know they have an app where they can put in NIL deals, and it goes through compliance, and they've set up some structure for that. But I don't think that when it talks to like the big name recruits, I don't think that can be I don't think that should be lost in this discussion. If we're not, some of the big names that we've seen commit, we're hearing about their NIL deals, whether the number is actually factual or not. Like you said, I don't think a lot of the reported numbers are factual, but I feel Auburn still has some catching up to do there. So I hope they do that.
Yeah, I just think we just need to sit and wait for all of those recruits that A&M got to decommit, because they're not going to all stick. They're going to get disillusioned with the fact that, this is nice, but I'm not playing. And then that NIL money starts to not look as attractive, because why am I paying this guy who's not seeing the field? And they'll be coming back this way a little bit.
I mean, all of this with the portal and NIL sounds like a big social experiment with these young kids, because to your point, Ike, how many of these kids are going to see the field at some of these schools? And it just makes the portal something to really look forward to, definitely. And speaking of portal, B-Matt, before we get to the break, you mentioned some guys that Auburn got out of the portal this year. In your opinion, what was the most significant pickup out of the portal for Auburn, in your opinion?
Probably going to be Zach Calzada, because he's probably going to be the starting quarterback, right? I mean, we'll see. But, if that's the case, it will be him. But I thought the business they did early getting him, Jason Jones, who's probably the starting nose guard unless Jeremiah Wright can take it. He's moved back over to defense. DJ James should play a lot at cornerback or nickel, wherever they put him. But I thought those guys were important. And I just thought getting receivers was important, even though they're not, superstars. Still getting some guys that can increase the talent of that position and bring more competition was really important.
Not yet. They're not superstars yet. Ike astutely pointed out that Alabama's Jamison Williams was nobody before he went to Alabama and became somebody. I have some questions about the quarterback position that we'll ask after the break, but I agree with everything you're saying here. It's ultimately, I think it's going to come down to on the field results. They've got to win some games, and even if they lose games, even if it's like a 7-6 season, you've got to show promise offensively. Yeah. You can't go on long. You can't go a whole game without an offensive touchdown like we did last year versus A&M.
Right.
You've got to
Those
figure out a way
first
to
5
score.
games.
Right. Yeah. Those first 5 games, you've got to show recruits a glimpse of who they could be for this team. Because who it was Josh Pate. Josh Pate felt like Brian Harsin's most effective recruiting message would be, we need you. Come to Auburn, right?
Yeah.
If you come here, you can go to Texas A&M, but he can probably guarantee playing time to big time recruits faster than most schools right now who are just loaded. And if you go to Alabama and you're a quarterback, unless you're literally the next coming of Cam Newton, you're going to sit for a year or 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're still not guaranteed a starting spot because they recruit so well at that position. So they've got to get out there. They've got to change the message. I'm glad to hear you talk about the buy-in, because that's something that we've heard repeatedly from our player interviews that we put up on the channel is that we've had staff and players tell us that 40% or less of the players they had on the team last year was bought into what they had to do. And the buy-in, I think, is important, because if I get a player host and that guy isn't bought in, he's not selling Auburn very effectively to recruits.
Right.
He's thinking about when he's going to jump into the portal. Or, or if he's worried about his playing time or what his role on the team is. So I think that should pay dividends in recruiting a little bit this year, maybe with a guy or two, talking to a guy who is passionate about this staff and the team culture and their teammates and the development plan that the coaches have for them to sell that to other recruits.
Yeah, I think that's real. Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, we got B-Matt for about another 30 minutes. So start forming your questions for him. We just kind of talked high level, guys. While you're doing that, if you're on social media, we need you to help us out, guys, because this is a great discussion about recruiting. Please share this video on social media using hashtag Get Your Weight Up. And if you're watching with us, we need you to like the video, help us with our engagement. If you happen to find our content, find our page for the first time tonight, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll be notified when we go live. Guys, let's take time to pause to acknowledge the sponsors of the War Report.
This edition of the War Report is made possible by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. Athletic Architects. For young athletes looking to secure their financial future, let Athletic Architects help you to build your financial house. Head over to BuildTheHouse.com. And our giveaway sponsor, War Eagle Oil. War Eagle Oil is your #1 place for all of your motor oil and related products. For more information, visit WarEagleOil.com.
Yes, indeed. Thank you to all of our sponsors, and you all, even though you might not be sponsoring the War Report, you can help us get our weight up, and you can come on board as a member of the War Report. $3.99 per month lets you get to the supporter level, access to some early segments that we're dropping out here. $5.99 per month will get you up to patron level, and then we're going to be doing insider chats. You know how we do when we get over into the season on game day. It's going to be insider only. We're going to have some insider only film breakdown, all that kind of thing. $5.99 per month is going to get you there. Unless you're using your iPhone, then you tack $1 onto each of those prices. That is not on us. That is something that Apple decided they wanted to do, and we can't do anything about it. But you can log on to your computer or to a browser, join there, and then it will transfer over to your device, no problem. Outside of that, y'all already know tomorrow we have the interview with Zach Calzada going live for everyone. That is tomorrow. You members have already had an opportunity, already got some great feedback and comments on that one. You all want to check this out. B-Matt just mentioned he is potentially going to be the starter next year. We don't know yet, but he is making his push for that right now. So you guys want to make sure you hear what he has to say about his process of recovery, coming back and trying to get into that shape for the season coming up. For you all who are on the membership train, you all have access right now to the interview with Marquise Burks. You can go ahead and click on that and get in there and listen to that interview with us. He had some really great things to say just about the process of them transitioning staffs, because he was there prior to the transition of this new coaching staff and what it's like right now for him going into his senior season. We're doing our giveaway today, sponsored by War Eagle Oil. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments to be able to get that. We'll be doing that drawing here in about 20 minutes, something like that. Make sure you are present and your spelling is correct, or otherwise you will be singing a sad tune of, man, I thought I had it that time. The Auburn Express, powered by the War Report, is the name of the podcast. We are on podcast platforms, ladies and gentlemen. You want to make sure you are locked in right there. If you have an opportunity to listen to us while you're on the go and you don't want to have your YouTube app open, you can go over to wherever you like to listen to podcasts to be able to get that in, and we definitely appreciate that. And before we get back over into the conversation, one last word from one of our sponsors. If you are freaking out right now about what is going on with Auburn recruiting, relax a little bit and let the guys from Chill Boys give you a little cool.
Treat your boys. Chill Boys underwear is designed for maximum comfort with enough space to keep you cool, calm, and comfortable. Chill Boys underwear will help you keep the boys close, not too close. When the game is on the line, you won't break a sweat with Chill Boys underwear. Whether it's left boy, right boy, or both boys, Chill Boys provides your boys comfort like you never felt. Maximize your chill with Chill Boys.
Shouts out to Chill Boys.
Yeah, definitely shout out to Chill Boys. Great sponsor. You guys have been doing a great job sending us feedback on how your Chill Boys underwear feels. Also, I've noticed hashtag skin on your feet trending. So the guys gave me crap about that, but you guys bought the socks and now you know what I'm talking about. It's like they're not there. I still believe I'll die on this hill. If you wear socks in bed to sleep, you're a psychopath, unless they're Chill Boys socks, because you might just forget they're on your feet, man. I'm telling you, those guys have a really good product.
Indeed. In the interest of time, guys, let's go ahead and get to it. We don't talk about recruiting a lot, so when we have someone on here who covers it, we definitely want to take advantage. So here we are with our fan question portion of the show. You guys have done a great job of getting some questions in, so we're not going to waste any time. Let's get to the first one. Anthony Rudd asked, B. Matt, what about Ed Rusher Falk? Nick Eason is trying to ease in and get him. What's your thoughts about him? What's the skinny on this situation?
Yeah, Keldrick Falk. He's one of those in-state kids from Highland Home. Grew up an Auburn guy. Has been to Auburn a bunch of times. Was here on an official visit. This is a kid that Auburn has to win on. However, Clemson has gotten really involved with him. Got him up for an official visit. Florida State's involved too. So I don't know how this is going to end. I felt pretty good about it after his Auburn visit, but I'm just a little bit not sure now. I'd be a little bit concerned about it, but he is supposed to announce here fairly soon. I think next Monday or Tuesday, I think it is, the 5th or the 6th, or maybe the 5th. So it's coming for him, and we'll see. But, I like Auburn's chances with Jeremiah Cobb. I'm a little shaky about Keldrick Falk right now. That's one to keep a close eye on.
I'm souring on Eason, man. Get out of our pantry, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy.
I mean, listen, he's really good.
I was about to say, how painful was this when he left? I mean, he knew the area.
Yeah.
And he recruited these. He's the one that had the relationship with these kids,
right.
Beforehand. And now he's taking that relationship and he's using it for Clemson. So it stinks for Auburn right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we're gonna have Chill Boy send him some itchy socks in the mail or something to distract him. I don't like what he's been doing. I know a lot of these guys come in for a year and they get to know the landscape of recruiting in our area, and they take that information back with them to whatever school they land at and use that. But I've been hearing whispers of some negative recruiting coming from him, which is why I'm really sour on that. I think, sell it, sure, get a kid any way you want. I just think if you have to use negative recruiting to convince a kid to come to your school, maybe you just can't recruit.
Yeah. That's I mean, that's a position Auburn has to have players in, right? They're losing their top two, and two of the best players on the team are Derek Hall and Echo Leota. And that should be a position where it's easy to recruit for, right? Auburn's got great players there. They've had great players there in the past, and they've got a chance for somebody to step in and play right away. So, we'll see. Yeah.
Lawrence Robinson, appreciate you, man, hanging out with us. He asks, do y'all think if we start out well in the season, our recruiting boosts? I know Mike G has said because of turnover of staff, recruits are kind of in a wait and see mode. Thoughts on that, B-Matt?
Well, normally I'd say no, because normally recruiting is about relationships and opportunities, and a lot of these recruits have made up their minds before the season starts. in Auburn's case, I think it will matter a little bit. Yes. I mean, for the kids that haven't made up their mind, for the kids that are still open, for the kids that could potentially be flipped, they're going to be watching Auburn closely. Those first 5 games are going to be so, so important. Auburn has a chance to start out 5-0, right? They've got to beat Penn State. They've got to beat Missouri. They got to beat LSU. All 3 of those games are at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Right.
So if they can do that, that really energizes Auburn and Auburn recruiting. That gets everybody fired up, and it will help. Yes.
Yeah, let's be clear. Beating Mercer and San Jose State isn't going to mean a damn when it comes to recruiting.
Right.
You got to get that. You got to get revenge, from the Nittany Lions at home, and then you got to beat LSU in your house. For a second year straight.
And they will have recruits on official visits for Penn State and LSU. I would say for sure.
Okay.
Just because those are going to be big games, and especially kids from out of state that are traveling that have not been to Jordan-Hare before. That's when you want to get them here, because that's the best thing about Auburn is a Jordan-Hare game.
Yeah.
Especially if it's at night, but just a big game in Jordan-Hare.
We had an actual, I can't say who said it because we haven't released the interview yet, but we had a young man who we did an interview with recently, and he noted the reason why, like, when he got sold on Auburn was coming to a game and just witnessing the atmosphere of the fans going crazy. Sure. And he was just like, I was sold. Like he took visits after that, but he's like, he knew after he came to a game, and he went to other places and he went to games and he was like, nah, it's not like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an electric atmosphere. So for those of you who are watching right now, we talk about the negativity, quote unquote, of the fans online. That experience in Jordan-Hare Stadium, that's where the recruits really feel, and they're like, okay, this is like, you can't. I worked in the stadium for a couple of years. I go to the games when we have our press passes, and there are times I'm not. It's just different. It's different. So like the jungle is like that. Well, it's not the jungle anymore. I don't know what they call it now. But like when you come to the basketball stadium, when you come to the basketball arena, when you step inside of Jordan-Hare Stadium, our fans are just, man,
they're different. They're different.
Like I don't remember going to gymnastics meets that felt like Auburn Gym this year. Our fans are just different, man. We make sporting events crazy different. So if you are an Auburn fan, just continue screaming hard for your team, man, and try to ignore all the people who are talking a bunch of negativity right now, because your electricity is really what's going to help push Auburn over the top with some of these recruits that might be on the edge. Yeah,
with the advent of social media, recruits are definitely taking notice of negative fan chatter as well, too. Ultimately, I mean, you should be able to recruit, and I think at the end of the day, that's no recruiter saying I'm not going to Auburn because of what some guy said on Twitter who I've never heard of. But it does matter. I remember my freshman year, with the most excited, we had a question about what was the best Auburn game we ever went to, and it was Auburn beating #1 Florida in 2001. That wasn't a great season for us, but there was no experience like Damon Duval kicking a 45-yarder into the wind to beat Steve Spurrier. And that was history note. That was the last time Auburn tore down the goalposts in Jordan-Hare. That was the last time they tore it down. We've only rushed the field since, I think, for the kick six. And I think that's it. I think that's the only time.
No, I think we rushed it in 2017 too. I think
the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
Rushed the field for that Iron Bowl. Okay, all right. I mean, it's a rare occurrence. But I do think that will, to Ike's point, that will matter for recruits. Really quickly, on Cadillac's recruiting visit, I was actually a part of this. They shut down the stadium. They brought him into the stadium at night. And we put together this could be you video for Cadillac with all the long list of great Auburn running backs. So Bo Jackson, Stephen Davis, all these guys that had come through Auburn, and this was high tech back then, but superimposed his head onto a jersey, and it was like Cadillac Williams is next up.
Yep.
Now Ronnie Brown had something to say about that, but we had they pulled out all the stops, and those were the things that made the difference in recruiting. He was essentially guaranteed to play when he came here, and he grew up an Alabama fan.
Yeah.
He grew up an Alabama fan. It was like a foregone conclusion. Auburn pulled out all the stops, man. It was a complete coup that we got Cadillac.
And committed to Tennessee on his visit there. So
yeah. So I mean, it can be done. I think we've talked to the staff. We talked to LaRondo and some of these guys. They are trying to get very creative in their recruiting. I think that'll make a difference.
Ali Tubbs asked, and we talked about him, but just to reiterate, what do you think our chances are to get Brock Glenn?
And is he good? Is he for real?
Yeah. The thing I like Brock Glenn, his tape looks good, but you meet him in person, and he's got that what's the word I'm looking for? You can tell he's an A personality, like a
just good
a
charisma
leader
about him.
Yeah. Yes, he's got that. Absolutely, 100%. He's got it.
So he's Rivals top 200, I think.
I think so. I
think he's like top 200.
He is at the Elite 11 camp right now.
Yeah,
for sure. And we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, he seemed like he was pretty strong on us, and then recently it's been a little less. But I think the fact that similarly to how it was with Holden Garner, we got in on him early before the hype train started up. So hopefully that will continue on, but I don't know who had the relation. Like, do you know who was his lead recruiter last year? Because, we have some turnover in the offensive staff. So I don't know if that had any contribution to that.
I do not know for sure.
Yeah.
And there has been a lot of turnover there, but I think it's Auburn, Ohio State for him. And I'd be concerned about Ohio State right now. But it sounds like he might push his
Ohio State is also after another quarterback too, I think. So they're unlike Auburn. I think they have another QB that they're after as well. So depending on what happens there could determine what happens with us with Brock Glenn as well. I think
it's first come, first serve, I think, for them. So they're taking one quarterback, and which one of those two commits could be beneficial to Auburn.
Let him go to Ohio State. We'll take them in the portal after the season is over.
Hey, listen, people have had good success in the SEC of recent with former Ohio State
quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, quarterbacks and wide receivers. Listen, Jameson Williams was an Ohio State guy. So apparently you go to Ohio State, don't see the field, and then transfer to the SEC, and you're guaranteed to be a first-round draft pick. That's kind of how it seems to work.
Be Matt, what the hell, man? They're throwing away quarterbacks at Ohio State, literally.
I know.
They're literally throwing them out with yesterday's trash, and they're going.
That's because they have a bunch of 5-star guys. Like they have 5-star, 5-star, 4-star in their room. And to B Matt's earlier point, if they're not seeing the field after that first year, they're just like, I'm out. I mean, but listen,
and they can afford to do it. They can
these
sign
guys
great
are temperamental, though, man. Like, even if they come in and they could be the starter the next year, I think what happens is if you're redshirted specifically, right? Like, not I'm the backup quarterback, one bad play, one injury away from it. If you're like a redshirt, I'm not going to see the field guy your freshman year. You're like, man, forget this. You get into a P5 strength and conditioning program, start to kind of understand the speed of the game during the the fall camp, and play on scout team a little bit, and you're like, I'm ready to start next year. And you don't even want to go through the whole controversy of trying to be a starter. You're just going to transfer somewhere that needs a quarterback that next year and keep it moving.
Yeah, that's facts.
Yep.
Big time facts.
Let's get to the next one, guys. Kenji asks, chances we get, I believe it's Quay Rasal.
Yeah.
Yep. He was in on an official visit this past weekend with his teammate James Smith. Both of the two top in-state players from Carver, Montgomery. I'd say Quay probably has more connections to Auburn. Both those guys have been to Auburn a bunch, but I think a lot of people in our industry think they'll probably end up at Alabama in the end. But I think Auburn's got a decent shot. You look at that edge position, which is so important to Auburn in this class. You got Keldrick Falk, which is probably Auburn or Clemson. You've got Quay Rasal, which is probably Auburn, Alabama, or Georgia. And then you got Ruben Bain, who also officially visited Auburn, which is probably Auburn, Alabama, or Miami, maybe. So if Auburn can just get one of those difference makers at that edge position, right? And maybe then they could find, another developmental edge in high school and then go out and get the best edge in the transfer portal, then you start feeling a lot better about that position. But Quay would be a big one for Auburn, just like Keldrick Falk, both just down the road, both with some family connections to Auburn, both officially visited, both highly recruited.
Are him and his teammate, they've talked about wanting to play together at the next level. Are they really a package deal?
You know what? Package deals are usually a bunch of bull, right? I mean, you hear that all the time, but rarely does it happen. I think this one has a 50-50 chance of happening. I really do, because they do go on almost all their visits together. But I would say that I think I think James probably likes Alabama a little bit more, and I think Quay likes Auburn and Georgia a little bit more, maybe. So we'll see how it works out. But I think there is a pretty good chance both can end up the same school.
Anthony Rudd asks, B-Matt, how do you feel about Camden Brown, or should I say Sammy Coates 2.0? We've been hearing some positive things about him this summer, but what have you been hearing, B-Matt?
Very positive things. I love his frame. I love his combination of athleticism and speed and burst. I think he's going to take a little time to develop. I don't think he's a plug and play all SEC guy like you see at some other places, but I do think he's going to be a really good receiver at Auburn. Really good. And I like what I've heard of Amari Kelly too. The kid from is he from Hewitt? He's from the Birmingham area.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's impressed early too. And those guys, along with Jay Fair, I really liked his tape. I like the way he competes for balls, even at being 5'11". And the two, Coy Moore and Dazzlin Worsham. I think Auburn's helped itself at the receiver position, definitely.
Yeah. Jay Fair is top 2 fastest guys on the team. Second, we heard, according to him, to Nehemiah Pritchett.
Okay.
They almost unanimously, they voted him the fastest guy on the team. And it sounds like we have a ton of speed. So if we can get some possession guys in there, it might be. I think there's some surprises on this team this year.
Yeah, everybody forgets about Jabari Johnson.
Yeah,
he's one of 2 guys that went in the portal and came back. I mean, that was good news for Auburn for sure.
Let me ask you this real quick. How much do you think young guys getting early playing time will play into recruiting? You know, is it important that Auburn shows a path to early playing time to prospective recruits?
Yeah, but not too much, because that could block up that position, right?
Yeah, for sure.
A little give and take there, but yeah, I do think that's important. I think players want to come in and play as early as possible, and that's the one thing Auburn can use against some of these schools like Georgia or Alabama, which if you're a 5-star and you sign with them, you're behind 2 or 3 5-stars to start out with, right? Auburn doesn't have that problem, so to speak. Not that that's really a problem, but it is something that Auburn has to use to their advantage.
Yeah, or hey, that guy's good. He's definitely going after his sophomore year,
right?
And you know, the door will be open for me.
Yeah, I think we've got to show a some success from our transfer portal guys this year too, man. Like, I mean, I'd have to go back and look at all of the guys we landed in the portal last year, but we didn't have a ton of productivity from that spot outside of what Eku Leota. But like, I can't think of another, and I'm probably missing somebody, but like, I can't think of another transfer guy. D-Rob, I guess, a little bit at wide receiver.
A little bit, yeah.
Like, those are really the only 2 that come to mind.
Marcus Harris had a really good year, I thought.
Oh, yeah. Marcus Harris, you're right.
Harris.
He's going to be a good player for Auburn. Maybe an NFL draft pick here before too long. We'll see.
Yeah, Marcus Harris played well last year. So so take D-Rob out of there. I'd say the top 2 would have been Eku Leota and Marcus Harris as far as transfer portal guys. But like, Tony Fair, I don't think did a lot. The kid from West Virginia never even saw the field.
Had to sign as a walk-on, I think, in NC State.
Yeah,
right.
In my opinion, you know, D-Rob did well early in the season, but gosh, post Penn State, can you think of a catch D-Rob had? Like, I mean, just saying, like, seriously, like, he just wasn't really a factor. So we've got to figure out how to get those portal guys acclimated in there and doing some serious work for us.
Had those short arms some of the times, right?
Yeah.
B-Matt, I asked about Brock Glenn. Is there a can't miss recruit in this class? I'm gonna throw some Gus shade for a second. For 8 years, a lot of the can't miss players that we got, like, this was our guy, the Byron Cowards, the guys that they were recruiting that were highly recruited turned out not to be very good.
Right.
So, is there a sense that this staff is evaluating better that, hey, is there a guy in this class like Tank Bigsby, who is going to be a starter and a star at Auburn? Tank Bigsby was our last can't miss, I think, that panned out. But, I want to say Keldrick Falk, and I would have said Keldrick Falk a week ago. I'm afraid to say it now because I'm afraid he's going to end up, at Clemson. Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't have that guy yet. One recruit I want to mention, J.C. Hart, local kid from Lochapoka, had a
Okay.
great camp. Quarterback, he's about 6'1", long and lean, ran a 4.37. He's a guy I think Auburn's in good shape for and could commit here, maybe around Big Cat weekend. We'll see.
Okay. Lochapoka.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Monte
Lochapoka. It's like
Pitts.
it's not far. It's not far from Auburn. It's like 15 minutes at the
Yeah.
most, if even that far. But yeah, it's a very small town.
Yeah, we had a friend from named Patrick from Lochapoka. That was the first that I heard of old Lochapoka. But
Shout out to my guy Pat. What's up, man? If you're watching,
I've been there. I've been to Lochapoka on a Friday night. Absolutely.
Yeah,
what?
It doesn't sound like fun.
That sounds like a story that I'm gonna ask you.
No, that's
offline.
literally only a football game. That's the only reason you're in
Monte
I was
Pitts.
gonna
Yeah,
say,
that was Monte Pitts back in 2000.
Montavious
Okay.
Pitts. Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Okay. All right. Yeah, that was back in our days, our class days.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, you either watching football, high school football, or you're up to something shady if you're in Lochapoka.
I was hoping
6
for the
p.m.
shady part. That's why I was going.
This is not an episode of Ozark.
Derek McClellan asked a prediction on next commitment. I mean, I think we already kind of know with some
we talked
confidence
about
is Jeremiah Cobb. But let me ask you this: who do you think is after Cobb? Oh,
I mean, after Cobb, it's probably Big Cat weekend before we start getting anybody else.
Well, there's a few guys like Keldrick going to announce.
Oh yeah, I forgot his is coming up before that.
Let's
trying
see
to think.
here.
There's some other ones too.
He's got offers from Clemson, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Arkansas State.
When has English announced a new date, or did he?
I don't think he has.
He just pushed it back. He was another one that was going to, but he has pushed his back.
What about Jakeem Jackson?
I think he said he was going to do it on the 28th of July, which would be 2 days before Big Cat. And I think Auburn was hoping maybe to get him in for Big Cat and then have it, but we'll see how that goes. I felt like Auburn coming out of that official was in pretty good shape there for Jakeem. He's a guy that Zach Etheridge is recruiting. Zach Etheridge likes a whole lot. So I kind of like Auburn's chances with him, although we'll see. But he's pretty high. He's become pretty high recruited. I think Alabama's even got involved with him. But between him and J.C. Hart, I think Auburn's going to get one or maybe both at cornerback.
Philip Coleman asks, are there any sleeper guys we are recruiting that could be breakout gems? Maybe the staff is waiting to their senior season to evaluate more.
Yeah, 3 stars that could play like 5 stars.
Okay. And I should have mentioned when you mentioned the guy we can't miss on, Aiden Osbury. He could end up being a stud at linebacker. Okay. He's got the family connection here. So there's
Austin Osbury's brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
He came in an official visit, but he is going to wait until I think after the season or later this fall to make a decision. So
how serious? I know LSU's kind of like not really as much as in the picture. I mean, it's his home school or state school, but I know he's didn't he go on an official to Notre Dame? I want to say.
I think that's right. Yes, I'm pretty sure Notre Dame. I've interviewed him, but that's been a month now, and I've done about 20-something interviews since then. I don't remember all the schools with him, but I feel good. Whatever the schools are, I feel good about Auburn's chances, no matter what. Even though he said that it's going to be his decision. You know, it's not just about where his brother's at, but still feel pretty good about Auburn. As far as guys that maybe aren't big names, Naquil Bertrand was a kid that was in here this past weekend. Currently committed to Colorado. He's from Philadelphia, not mistaken. He is 6'7", 315. Auburn's recruiting has a big old nose guard. I think he's listed in our database as an offensive tackle, but they like their chances to flip him here fairly soon. Him and Joshua Horton. I think Joshua's another kid from Georgia, from Langston Hughes, which Auburn's recruited about five players from there. They got, of course, Terrence Love from there already committed. He's one I think that could end up being a really good player. DJ Chester, who's already starting to move up in the rankings, is a big old one of those pile driving offensive guards. Auburn, LSU, FSU are probably his 3 schools. He's going to wait a little while for his decision, but he's another one of those guys that maybe people don't hear a lot about, but that could be like an NFL type offensive guard at Auburn. Those are the guys that stand out to me right away.
Okay. Thomas Jones asked, I wanted y'all's opinion on I think half of Texas and Texas A&M NIL recruits will go in the transfer portal after a lack of play. We kind of talked about this as well, but your thoughts on this. Appreciate the super sticker, Thomas.
Well, I think you look at Ole Miss right now, they're putting a lot, I'd say maybe more of their recruiting into the portal than they are high school players overall. I think that's become sort of their focus. And I think Auburn, because of the way it stands right now, they need to probably shift more of their focus, not as much as Ole Miss, but more of it into the transfer portal. So I do see Auburn being even more active, especially early on in the transfer portal than they were this past year. I think they got 3 early ones last year, and I could see them doubling that this year. In December, trying to jump on guys as soon as they jump in, because especially for offensive tackles and edge rushers and elite wide receivers and, of course, quarterbacks. But positions like that, you've got to get on them right away or they're gone. You got to come at them. You got to make that offer. You got to get NIL involved, and you got to get it going.
B-Matt, do you have a sense about how the success of the spring sports is maybe playing into raising Auburn's profile with recruits? Basketball achieved the #1 ranking. Baseball made the College World Series. SUNY Lee, again, just drew so much attention to the school. I think we got a national championship in basket weaving. Outside of football, we were top 15 to 20 at everything.
Yeah.
Is that something that they use on the recruiting trail?
I mean, I don't hear that necessarily from the kids I interview, right? But I don't ask that question either. So I don't have a great answer for that. But I just in my feeling is I think it certainly helps, right? I think
like growing the brand.
Auburn's profile.
Yeah.
And I think if you do happen to bring a recruit to a basketball game or gymnastics or baseball or softball, which is going to be really good this spring, by the way, I think the crowds there are going to get you excited about Auburn, and you get a little taste of what Auburn can be if you haven't been to Jordan-Hare before. So I do think it could be a plus if used correctly.
But they do that though. They invite recruits to basketball games.
Yeah. I know, especially right. That's what I say. Especially if you're waiting to sign on the second signing day, they'll bring you on for that.
Right.
Or the juniors coming up. Yes, if they can get them there. Right. If it's a weekend, a Saturday, unofficial visits, try to schedule a junior day in January around a big home basketball game. That's something the staff didn't do very well this past January, right? I think that'll change this upcoming January.
We go out to USC this year, or they come here?
I think we go out.
I believe
we go out. We play
West
someone
Coast
out
trip.
west. We play out west somewhere. Yeah.
They got a little West Coast trip. They're going to Israel here at the end of July, early August, and then
Cancun, for that tournament. I think Ike raised his hand for the Cancun trip, so I think they will be.
I did too.
So he'll be renewing the passport, so we can ship him down to Cancun.
It's already ready. I don't have to renew
it. So you guys can have some margaritas down there. I do think that they've got to use every tool in the bag to get recruiting going. They have to use every tool in the bag. Yeah. They've got to evaluate better, and we can't. I think it's not that Alabama and Ohio State and these schools don't have busts. It's just that they have so many players that it doesn't matter when a player busts because they can let a kid like Ewers go and still be okay. And that's not where Auburn is at right now. So what they have to do is they have to pick better. You got to pick kids who can be contributors by year 2 at the very least. And help move your program forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the one thing I will say about this, and I know we got one more question about basketball recruiting before we let you get out of here, B-Matt. One thing I will say is at least Bryan Harsin has had a history of having to try to find diamonds in the rough. That's the one thing I can say is, like, if we don't get a bunch of 4 or 5 stars, he knows how to find really solid 3 stars, right?
Yeah.
And so some of the people who they might not be getting recruited by the Bama, Georgia, Clemson, Floridas of the world, LSUs of the world, but they're going to get recruited by Auburn, and he knows how to find those guys who have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, maybe weren't evaluated the way that they thought that they should be or whatever, and can come in and contribute. So that's the one thing I would say is maybe a thing that, hopefully we can look forward to seeing some of those guys that nobody was recruiting highly, but they found some value there and were able to do something significant with them.
Indeed. Before we get out of here, B-Matt, I know we got you on borrowed time, but Jazzy Joe asks your thoughts about basketball recruiting. It doesn't seem like this coaching staff is actually going to grab anyone for this. I guess this recruiting period has passed. I guess we're moving forward towards the future. I know we missed out on the kid who went to Tennessee, but what's the deal with basketball recruiting?
Well, the November is going to be the early sign period. I think the roster is set for this upcoming season. And I did have a chance to, can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. I did have a chance to go watch the new guys play. I was really impressed with Trey Donaldson. Yohan Traore, another one of those freshman signees, is extremely athletic for a big man. Can handle the ball terrifically. Excited to see him play. So don't have a lot of information on, the upcoming basketball targets. I just know Auburn's involved with a bunch of 5-stars, right? That's Bruce Pearl and the staff right now. I mean, they're going to recruit the top kids in the country, and any needs they don't fill, in November, they can fill, in the late period or through the transfer portal and have the, opportunity to look at the top guys in the country. That's where this program is right now. I also saw a question about Jeffrey Emba. The reason I want to answer that is because I asked about him a little while ago, and Jeffrey Emba is crushing it in summer workouts right now. He is every bit of 6'5", 315 or whatever he's listed as, and he's as quick as any defensive lineman on the team. They're very excited about his upside. Still going to be a little raw because he hasn't played a lot of football, but he's a guy I definitely watch out. As the season progresses, you're going to see more and more of him. I think he's another guy to get excited about on that defense, which seems to keep coming with more and more players, right?
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice. And shout out to JG Tate. What up, friends?
Look at JG.
What's up, my guy, JG? Good to have you on watching us. I think he's checking up on you, B Matt. B Matt's doing superb. All right. So yeah, I think we're at that point. B Matt, man, we appreciate you hanging out with us, man, for sure. I don't know if you want to give people tell how people can follow you or how they can get in touch with you on Twitter or however you want them to.
Yeah, real simple. You can go to auburnsports.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at bmattau. And look forward to it. Enjoy being on here. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to a big summer, and hopefully we'll have some good recruiting news here in the next couple of days.
So what we'll do is probably after Big Cat be mad, or have some, you or someone from auburnsports.com come on and kind of recap what happened at Big Cat and what we need to be looking out for, who we need to be keeping an eye on as we get closer to the season. How about that?
Sounds great. Look forward to it.
All right, man. Appreciate you, B Matt. And I think we're at that point where someone's ready to win.
Yeah, we're going to give away a mug here. So hashtag get your weight up in the comments. Go ahead and get that in there, because y'all know I'm not going to be waiting around all night for you to decide that you want to be a part of this giveaway. So hashtag get your weight up in the comments here. We have 64 entries. Let's see who is going to be the recipient of this mug today. 65 now. Boom. Today it is going to be Luke. Oh, it's a new name. Luke Rookus.
It is and he
I don't even know who that
just
is.
commented. They just and it's funny, they just put the get your weight up in.
All right, so a late entry right there.
They should be here.
But Luke, make sure that you say what's up in the comments one more time when you see your name. While we're waiting on you, let's just get one more word from one of our great sponsors here, and that is Rogue Shop.
This episode of The War Report is brought to you in part by Rogue Shop. Looking to reduce stress or improve your quality of sleep? Rogue Shop has you covered with a wide range of premium products, including gummies, bath salts, and oils. Go to rogueshop.com and use code Rapport when you check out. That way, they know we sent you. All right?
Luke is here. So, Luke, we need to get your information, sir. So you make sure that you email us business@thewarreport.com. That giveaway today is sponsored by War Eagle Oil for all of your motor oil needs. So this is not like gasoline, but this is oil you put in your car. So any of those motor related products, War Eagle Oil. So go to wareagleoil.com for all of that. But they are our sponsor for that giveaway today. Luke, hit us at business@thewarreport.com. We will get your mug out in the mail to you. and then you can sip in style wherever you like to drink, whatever you like to drink. If you are a guy like our friend JG Tate, and maybe you drink a little bourbon, then you are a scholar and a gentleman. Drink that in your War Report mug and health. If it's coffee, I can't relate. I don't drink coffee, but do that. But whatever you like to sip, WarEagleOil.com sponsors that. Don't drink oil out of your cup.
Indeed. We're towards the latter end of the show. There's a few questions that came in or comments. I do want to get your thoughts on this, Mike G, because we talked about it on Sunday. You were not here. I know Mike G was fuming when Chet got drafted before Jabari. We talked about it, but Mike, what did you throw when Chet's name got called ahead of Jabari?
Listen, people make terrible decisions every day. It is a reality of being a human being. Sometimes you just don't get it right. And I don't necessarily fault the Magic for taking Banchero at number 1, but I definitely, who was it at number 2?
OKC.
OKC. Like, I don't know, man. I feel, I've said this before, Chet gives me Darko Milicic vibes. Like, everybody around you is going to be a star in the NBA, and you're going to be selling insurance in 3 years. Like, I don't think Chet's that good. I'll die on that hill. He's not good. He wasn't good in college. I thought he was overhyped. I think they're overhyping his skill set. He wasn't even the best player on his team. Like, Jabari was definitely on a talented Auburn team. He was definitely the best player on our team as a true freshman.
Yeah.
I
think the thing that hyped up Chet a lot, and I wasn't really keeping up with him. There's a video of him at the Steph Curry camp when he was a junior in high school. And, Steph is playing defense against him, and he does like a little fancy crossover move and gets to the lane and then dunks. And then he later on in one of the pickup games blocks Steph's shot when he's going in for a layup. I think that's what had people sold on Chet at a very young age, saying, oh, look at this junior in high school going toe-to-toe with Steph Curry. Like, Steph Curry is like, he's given up like 8 inches to the dude, and Steph Curry's not some phenomenal defender. So, like, crossing up Steph Curry ain't, I mean, I get it. He's a big guy, and he handles the ball well, but like, that ain't what makes you able to go against the premier, long, lanky guys in the league. Like, I don't know, man.
Do that against KD.
I mean, like, okay, Giannis. If that was Kawhi Leonard, then I'd be like, oh, hey, you saw this junior in high school cross up Kawhi Leonard, bro. Like, if that was what's my guy's name that plays over in the Clippers with him now?
Paul George.
If that was Paul George, somebody who really like gets busy on defense, right? Like, or was even like, it don't even have to be that good a defender, but just somebody who you like, yo, okay, I believe it now. But I'm not buying, not when he went to Gonzaga and wasn't doing that at Gonzaga. Like, I'm just saying, like, if you was doing that at Gonzaga, then I would be like, okay, I'm still not super impressed, but at least he did it against collegiate athletes, right?
Right.
But he got into the tourney and he was like, forgive me, I only watched his games in the tournament. So I don't know what he did all season long when it didn't matter. But when he played against the more elite guys, I was not impressed.
Yeah, our guy Memes tried to tell us on Twitter, everybody raved about his 3-point shooting until they actually played somebody. And he was well below 25%. He was not a great 3-point shooter against elite competition. That's all you're going to face at the NBA level. So I'm not saying that he cannot develop his game. I'm just saying he's a lot further off than number 2 in the draft.
Here's my thing with him is he's clearly a development. He's a development player. Like, they got to develop him. Here's the problem though, because of where he's drafted, I don't know if he gets that time to develop.
And that's the bigger issue, I think, is that you being drafted number 2 overall, you need to be someone who they anticipate contributing day one.
Yeah. Basketball is day one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
And if he doesn't, you know what I'm saying, like where he is right now in OKC, that's a lot of young players. So it's not like he's got a bunch of veteran talent he's got to beat out. He just got to be able to hoop better than everybody else. And he's going to see the floor, but they're going to put him out there early and often. And so we're gonna see what he's got. We're gonna summer league, he better go out there and light it up, because if he doesn't, you're gonna start hearing it early.
Guys.
And Gonzaga media is nothing like NBA.
Yeah, I mean, and their fans are soft. Their fans are soft, and so but yeah, they're Charmin soft, like 3-ply soft, and I think he is a reflection of that culture. So think about what fans were like, because they get all. I was on a Twitter space with some Gonzaga fans, and I don't recommend it. I won't do that again. But it was before they played Memphis. It was after they played Memphis, going into the Sweet 16. So it was the round of 32 game, I believe it was. And Memphis got screwed in that game. I don't care what anybody says. They were calling fouls very unevenly. They fouled out Memphis's best player, and they couldn't hang after that. But I'll tell you this. I said after that game, guys, they were talking in the space like they just weren't concerned about the next game. Like they had nothing to worry about. And I'm like, really? You watched that game and you're not worried at all for the Sweet 16?
But see, guys, remember, I was like, I think Arkansas got this.
Yeah,
when I watched them, I felt confident about Arkansas after watching them play Memphis.
I wasn't saying they were definitely going to lose. I was saying there's plenty of reason to worry after what we just saw.
Yeah,
in the round of 32, and then they downplayed the kid that Arkansas star. I can't remember his name. Yeah, they talked down this kid, and I was like, I'm telling you, the SEC ain't what it used to be at basketball. It was tough this year. It was tough. Winning the regular season SEC crown was an accomplishment this year.
Right.
For a team picked to finish 5th in the West. We had a tough schedule. And I don't know, man, for a school that is perennially in the top 10 or near the top of the rankings, I don't know. I don't think that Chet, similarly to what we were asking B-Matt about who is our can't miss player at football, because at football, your number 1 draft pick can come in and sit for 1 to 2 years. That's football. In basketball, your number 1 draft pick ain't sitting. No. He's going right to work, because number 1, if you got the number 1 pick, your team is probably terrible.
Yeah, so unless you got it via some sort of trade, it's probably a very bad team.
Yeah, right. And so you need him to contribute right away. Now, do I think Chet Holmgren is going to come in and make guys around him better and instantly make OKC a better team? I didn't see him do that at Gonzaga. I don't think Chet Holmgren made guys around him better at Gonzaga. So I don't see it. Drew Timme was the heart and soul of that team.
Yeah, easily. I don't even think that's, if anybody debates that, even as a Gonzaga fan, you have to acknowledge Timme is the one that was really putting them on.
He was that dude. He was that dude.
They went as far. He's a little slow, but I mean, I just liked his craftiness with the ball. I liked his ability to finish both hands. He can step out and shoot it. He doesn't have the athleticism of Kevin. He's Kevin Love later in his career as far as his athleticism, but I mean, he's a solid guy, man. He reminds me of kind of like a Gasol type, like a Mark Gasol.
They don't get as far without Timme at all.
Like, they don't win the Memphis game without Timme. Timme was the reason that they were doing their things there. Somebody compared him to Giannis in their
Mike. Didn't you tweet about this, Mike?
Yes. Listen,
this is who blocked that guy from life.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
I tweeted about this. I was like, can we please stop comparing him to Giannis? It is not the same thing.
No.
Giannis was a much better shooter at this stage.
No, I won't say Giannis is not a great shooter, but his athleticism is
he was just different. His name is the Greek Freak. Like, I think that he was able to do.
I think that Giannis, I don't think Chet is a great shooter, but I think that Giannis, but that's not saying something that Giannis was so great. I'm just telling you, I think Giannis was still a better shooter at this stage than Chet is right now coming into the NBA. And he definitely developed his game because he became a threat from 3. You leave Giannis open, he could become a knockdown 3-point shooter, and he definitely, NBA MVP, man. Like, listen, he definitely worked on his game and developed his game. Again, I'm not saying that Chet can't do that. I'm just saying I think he's a lot farther off than somebody like Giannis was. And do I see him putting on the type of muscle that Giannis put on? I don't know anything about Chet Chet Holmgren's
They're gonna have
weight
to
room
give
habits.
him the Captain America Super Soldier
Yeah,
serum for him.
they're gonna have to steal the whole machine from Kevin Feige over at Marvel, put him in it, and hopefully he comes out looking like a super soldier. But I don't see it. Now listen, get your bag, get paid. I'm all about it. You know, the average NBA players, man, they can play for
10, 11 years, really. Yeah. If he stays in good health, he can play 10 years and, but he will have an opportunity to do that because he was drafted so high. Because look at what's the kid's name that just won with Golden State? That was the high draft pick. Canadian guy, came out of high school. Brain fart right now. Small forward for Golden State this last year.
Oh, you talking about Wiggins?
Yeah, look at Wiggins. Wiggins was a high draft pick that people pretty much were just calling a bust because his first however many years in the league, you just weren't seeing the Andrew Wiggins that everybody hyped up. But because he was drafted so high, people will keep giving you an opportunity, and they'll say, listen, I just talked about this with J.D. Davidson. J.D. Davidson's high school tape is what got him drafted into the league, not his collegiate tape. They're drafting him on potential to say maybe he can reach his athletic potential once he gets into the NBA. So high draft pick, high showing early will get you an opportunity over and over again for somebody to take another chance and another chance to say, well, maybe it just wasn't the right fit in this situation. We know how to use his talent here, right? So, I think Chet Holmgren, he's going to have 5 or 6 years to figure it out. He's going to be on that rookie contract for a couple of years. Somebody's going to pick him up and put him on their bench. He's going to have an opportunity to figure this out. I just don't know if it's going to pan out. And a lot of it's going to have to do with whether or not he can translate athleticism and he can be consistent from three. Because if he can shoot the ball, people will put him on the squad.
Yeah, for sure. A big guy who can stretch the floor and draw other people's big men out of the paint is certainly valuable. It very is. If you have to chase a big guy like Chet out of the paint, depending on where you decide to play him, it's a threat. I mean, a lot was made of his 3-point shooting, but I just think he was stat stuffing. I know he was stat stuffing against bad teams. He was the ultimate stat stuffer against. This
is what JG Tate put. Chet is 7 feet tall. He shot 60%. 2-point field goals and 39% of 3-point field goals. He doesn't suck.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that 39% again padded against bad competition because whenever they played somebody with a number next to their name, that percentage was well south of 25. He wasn't that great against great competition. And you're not going to get at the NBA level. He's going to have to get better, faster to hold those numbers.
Yeah, unless he's playing alongside a superstar, right? Like if there's another guy on his team that can generate the attention, because this is the same thing we talked about with Jabari Smith. The issue that Jabari Smith is going to have on the next level is he can't be your guy because he doesn't have the ball skills to be able to do it. He's not going to be able to put it on the floor and run your offense through him, go get a bucket late in the shot clock type of guy. He's going to be a 3-and-D guy that's going to be a nice complementary piece to whoever you have as your star, or a guy who you can throw it to in the high post, 1-2 dribbles, get a good shot, because he's a tough shot maker. Now, make no mistake about it, 6'10" Jabari Smith can make shots over the top of most people, right? And he's good in that high post, being able to catch the ball, jab step, 1-2 dribble, shoot, right? So he's not going to be your guy who you just throw it to and let him run the offense. But 3-and-D, again, the Klay Thompsons of the world, he can be that guy for your team who you just can't leave him open. Like it's just, if you leave him open, he's going to make you pay from the corner, from, the wing, right? He's just going to be a guy who, and you can facilitate, pick and pop type of action with him. You know what I'm saying? He can be your backside guy at the dunker, whatever you want to. But Chet's problem is people are going to want to make him the ball handling, tall, big Kevin Durant type of person. And I think that they're going to find out early that, and this is something Kevin Durant had to deal with when he was early in his career, the physicality at the NBA. People talk about how not physical the NBA is right now. It's still far more physical than it is in college. Like they're going to, if you become a guy who people think you can ball, every single game, somebody's going to be out there to prove you're wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
He can't do anything with me, and I'm going to prove it.
Yeah, it's different when they're game planning for you at the NBA level, right?
Right.
Like when you're that dude, you get a whole game plan dedicated to you, of some of the world's best athletes trying to stop you from doing.
And those guys close a lot faster than they do in whatever
that's
conference
what I'm
you play
saying. When
in.
you're talking about like Giannis is a good example of that, right? Like Giannis is a guy who will be playing against Chet's gonna have to deal with Giannis. No.
Yeah, he's gonna get destroyed.
That's a bad matchup every day of the week. Giannis against Chet. Like, and Chet's a long dude. He can bother him. He's just gonna go by him. I just don't. And physically, he just can't. There's dudes who are twice Chet size that Giannis makes look stupid in the post.
Yeah,
he just can't.
Listen, guys. 2 years from now, when the War Report is on SEC Network, I'm speaking that. We're going to be having this conversation about Chet Holmgren getting traded and that franchise wanting to move on from that decision. I'm telling you. I mean, I go back to it right now. If you get a top 5 pick, you got to pick well. And you know, there are just teams every once in a while. There's a guy in there who just doesn't pan out. And I didn't think, you know, to JG's point about, you know, he doesn't suck. I don't think that. I talk a lot of crap about Chet, but I don't think he sucks. I don't think he's the worst basketball player there.
Oh yeah, no, he's not awful. Don't get me wrong. He's just not number 2 pick in the NBA draft.
I don't think he's a top 5 pick. I think that's a guy that you take into your system. You put him in the G League. You put him in the weight room. You shoot him up with the Chris Evans serum. You do everything you can because he has the potential, but there are still a lot of ifs. In my mind, if I'm drafting a guy 2nd overall, I'm drafting the guy with the least amount of ifs.
Right. And I think the for me, and this is a good comment here again by JG Tate. You can tell he's a professional. I'd have taken Jabari and Chet ahead of Paolo. I think the interesting thing, or the reason why I was so convinced that Jabari Smith was the best prospect in this draft, is more so because from a physical standpoint and a defensive mindset standpoint, he is leaps and bounds ahead of, like, I don't think that Paolo's a very good defender at all. Like, I just don't think, like, he reminds me of like Jabari Parker was, right? Like somebody who can go out there and get you buckets, but he's not stopping anybody on the defensive side. And I don't know that he even has the mindset to say, I'm going to be a lockdown defender at the next level.
Maybe at Orlando, he can get away with that, right?
Right.
I just in the league, the league is so good about picking matchups. Like that is what everybody does, and it's a matchup league. I saw an interview that I don't know why I can't think of nobody's name. Who's the guy who messed up the timeout against Cleveland, always getting high?
J.R. Smith.
Smith. He was on a podcast recently, and that's what they were talking about. They were just talking about how it's matchups in the NBA. They're going to exploit the matchup that gives them the best opportunity to get buckets every time down the floor. So that's all they're going to do. They're going to game plan, and they're going to say, oh, he can't play defense. Put him in the pick and roll, make him switch. Or some coach is going to have to figure out how to hide him on the court consistently on defense. And that's a liability when you're a big man.
Yeah.
You can't get hidden all the time. So they talked about this last time when we were talking about whether or not Jesus Christ, what is wrong with my brain today, man?
Talk about
our guy, the other draft pick, Walker Kessler, was going to be good at the next level. And, Walker Kessler is not going to has fleet of foot. So they're going to try to switch him out on guards and make him guard out high and take him away from the rim. Right. That's all. The NBA is just going to, they major in this. Right. They just sit there and they figure out, how can I exploit this matchup? Do I have a guy that's a matchup nightmare for this kid?
Right.
And that's the Banchero and Chet are going to have that problem much more than Jabari Smith will have.
Yeah.
Jabari Smith can guard, I won't say 1 through 5, but he can definitely guard 2, 3, 4 with no problem. 5, if you're a little big, he might have a few problems with you, but as he gets stronger, you got to remember, he was just a true freshman last year. He's got some weight that he can put on to bulk up a little bit more. He can guard there, and he's got NBA range today.
Right.
He doesn't have to figure out how to shoot. He can pull up off the dribble or on a set shot from NBA range right now at a high proficiency. That's an NBA ready prospect right there. The only issue that, again, they're going to have is he can't be someone who you're going to facilitate through. But man, I take a 3-and-D guy all day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's no shortage of those.
Now, I
in
told
NBA.
y'all Walker Kessler was going to go first round because defensively, he alters the game in ways that you cannot it's hard to quantify on a stat sheet. You're not going to look at a stat sheet and tell what a great game Walker Kessler had unless you watch the game. So the way I think a lot of teams evaluated that, and they got a bargain for him at 25.
Right.
And toward the end of our season or midseason, what did we see from Walker? He understands that big men need to shoot in today's NBA. He started trying to develop, a game beyond the arc. We started seeing him taking threes during the game, and the coaches were encouraging him to shoot those shots because they know he's going to need that skill set at the next level. I think that now, again, he's not a top 5 pick, but in my mind, he is just as developmental a player as Chet is at this point.
And that's what I was going to say is like they're different players, but that to me, they're closer to the same readiness day one.
Yeah, right.
In my opinion, like I said, they're different skill sets, right? Like one's a better ball handler, one's a better defender, but they have some work that they've got to do.
Right.
Walker Kessler's not going to be quick enough for most NBA 1 through 3, right? Like they're just going to be able to go by him but he's long enough to be able to. And so Chet Holmgren is not as big, right? Like he's not physical enough, I think, to be able to do that. And so there's going to be some things that they're going to both have to work out at this level. But yes, to your point, Mike G, I think that from a developmental and readiness day one standpoint, to me, those two guys are pretty close.
They're pretty close, yeah. It doesn't suck. You've got skills at basketball, but top 5, man, I don't know about all that.
All right, guys. Listen, let's move on with a special segment of the show.
Yeah, welcome to another Jazzy Challenge.
Hey, Jazzy, you know the drill.
We got to figure out where Jazzy is. He says, location challenge, where am I for 150 for the state that borders it? He was in Tennessee on Sunday. He says, my PayPal isn't working, so I'll give it to y'all on the next show.
Let's see here. I'm looking at his Twitter right now. There are trees, rocks, sky in this picture. So he could be anywhere.
I was about to say that's not enough to.
Man, I don't know. He was in Ohio last time, right?
Oh, and can I say this while we're trying to figure this out? I meant to say this at the top of the show, but condolences to Luke Deal on his father passed recently. He was dealing with his battle. But definitely Luke Deal, friend of the show, man. Our thoughts are with you. Definitely hope you and your family are finding some peace during this time, man. But definitely thoughts and prayers out to the Deal family as they deal with this whole situation.
Well, yeah, I did not know that actually.
I didn't know that either.
We supported the fundraiser that they had for his dad, and definitely want to say thank you to everybody who donated to that. When a family member's hurting, it's important that we all come together as a community and chip in. So I know he's got a lot of love around him right now and support during this time, but we hope that his family finds peace.
For sure. Okay. So what say you guys?
I'm going to go with he is in.
Has he ever been in Alabama? It feels like he never drives through Alabama. He's never been in Alabama, has he?
Nah, I'm going to say he's somewhere in the Carolinas. So I'll say North Carolina.
See, he was in Tennessee the other day. So where does this dude? I'm going to go with Missouri. Maybe he's in Missouri for some reason.
That's a safe pick. You said the Carolina. Did you pick a Carolina, Ike?
Yeah, I said North Carolina.
North Carolina. I'm gonna go Indiana.
Indiana? All right. Let's see.
So let us know, Jazzy, if we were close.
Are we close? Were we close?
JG, while we're waiting on that, jumped in earlier and said NIL better get going before Big Cat weekend.
Listen, now the rules are starting to loosen around NIL. It is time to start dropping bags. because Ohio State has formed a department for NIL. I read a crazy article about what they're doing with NIL right now. I know state law is different in, on NIL, depending on where you live, but it's time to get involved. Money's a factor.
Yeah. I mean, so we've got the new NIL collective that the players have got going on. And then there's another, big donor base collective that's supposed to be getting up off the ground. So, hopefully the pivot that we've made from both of those standpoints will allow more of the fan base to get involved with NIL to help support the current athletes. So they'll have some good things to say to recruits when they come and talk about the NIL. And hopefully this new collective that's getting started from some of the donors will allow some of those bigger deals. Because I think the biggest thing is about brokering, right? And so, while we're sitting here talking about NIL and trying to figure out how to broker situations, just for the heck of it, do I have that here? I don't, but I would just a quick shout out to, Athletic Architects. This is one of those situations where there are people who are out there to help you figure out how to broker those situations and set yourself up. So companies like that are going to be ones that athletes need to be able to make sure. And hopefully, Auburn, because I don't really care what other schools do. I feel for those athletes, but hopefully Auburn is able to foster relationships with companies like Athletic Architects to make sure that when their athletes are getting on board, they have a pathway for someone to just say, hey, you guys help my guys get set up the right way, right? And make sure that they can broker those deals in the proper manner so that those athletes can be successful with NIL. And then that helps to spread the word amongst those recruits to say, hey, Auburn's got ends with a company that's really helping you get to this money.
Yeah, for sure. The community has to step up. You own a business in Auburn right now. Getting athletes to come to Auburn, there's an indirect benefit for those businesses to sponsor athletes. Now, it may not mean more people are going to come to your store. I feel like people just kind of patron Auburn businesses anyway, especially if you're in that concentrated area where those businesses reside. But if you were on campus when we were in 2004, everything was jumping. When the football team is winning, everybody benefits.
It's good for business.
Yeah,
it's
the
good for
community
business.
I mean, it is crazy. Caesar, you remember we went out to Pasadena in 2014. And after Auburn lost, I felt sorry for the city of Pasadena because it was 95% Auburn fans out there. And we were all so depressed. We didn't spend any money. Everybody just got in their car and went home. I remember we sat in a bar, shared a burger, and
I don't remember what I ate.
Yeah, and just looked and just stared at each other for 30 minutes and then waiting on traffic to clear. And then we got in the car and drove back to the Airbnb. It was tough. So the businesses do have an indirect benefit in investing in athletes because when the program is good, if you can get premier athletes to come through here and Auburn is contending for the SEC every year, the community will benefit, man. People are out. The parties are hype. Everything was easier in 2004. In 2004, it felt like we were on easy street. Life was on easy street. You go to a party, you had a 8 to 10 chance of getting laid because the football team was good. I mean, it's truth. That's truth. People were just happier, so they were more open to things. It was so much fun. And then and if you were there in 2003, you remember at some point during that season there were tumbleweeds blowing through the concourse in front of Haley Center. just wasn't as hype. So I don't know. I think the community needs to get involved. I know the community needs to get involved, and you may not be able to quantify immediately what an NIL sponsorship of an athlete will mean to your business. If you're sponsoring the starting quarterback, sure, they can help raise awareness. When Bo was here, he's got 100,000 Instagram followers. That means something in today's world of advertisement. That somebody with 100,000 real followers says, "Hey, I patron this business." So if you didn't know about them and you go down to Auburn, you will if you follow Bo.
Right.
But for the average athlete, that's not going to be the case. And those guys deserve deals as well, too, so that we can get, you your quarterback's important, but there are other guys who are equally as important and not so flashy positions, and we need to get them their bags too so we can keep up.
And that's why I like this new collective that they created for those types of athletes to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, man. Listen, at the end of the day, people are going to hate me for saying this. Like, they're doing like player Zooms, and they've got their thing set up that they do for when you donate money to their collective. I'm gonna tell you right now, if I give money to that collective, I don't give a damn about no player Zoom. I'm just giving you money. Now, you can do as many Zooms as you want for people who find interest in that. But primarily, this is how they're funneling money from us, the fans, through to the athletes. They are providing a service, but I don't need, there's no contract that says I need to consume it. Right? I can buy a burger from your restaurant. Nobody's arresting me if I don't eat it.
Right.
So, that's what these collectives come down to. Give the money, man. It's $30 a month. There are over 600,000 living Auburn alum. If everybody gave $10 to NIL, we would compete at the highest level for any athlete.
Yeah.
I think that's real. We've got the name. We got the brand. Definitely. And if we can convince kids with atmosphere and, culture and, the Auburn way, as well as getting your bag, that's the whole package, man. There's no reason not to come here over someplace like Ohio State. You can get to the league from Auburn. You're playing in the Premier League in college football against the best athletes in the nation week in and week out. You can get to the league from Auburn if you're that guy.
Right.
So, it almost doesn't matter. If you're that dude, you'll make a team good no matter where you go. No. I disagree with what B-Matt said about O-line, about it not mattering at all about O-line. I think if your O-line is just the worst ever, sure, it can matter. But if you're that guy, there's a certain level of production that you're going to meet despite how the O-line plays. You're still people make a big deal about what happened.
I mean, you've got to be a phenomenal athlete to overcome a terrible O-line, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying if you're that guy.
Yeah.
Right. So people talked about that Super Bowl that Kansas City lost. And they say, oh, look, even Patrick Mahomes looked bad. I was like, he didn't look bad in that Super Bowl.
Right.
He had it rough. But what I saw was him throwing perfect passes sideways, falling to the ground under pressure. He was still that dude. Right. He was the only reason they didn't get blown out even more.
Right. So,
again, you're watching him play and nobody's thinking that he got exposed in that Super Bowl. He's a good quarterback. So if you're that guy, you're that guy. Come be that guy at Auburn. Come be that guy on Toomer's Corner. Come be that guy on the concourse. Be that guy in Jordan-Hare. Be that guy at Neville Arena. We've got it, man. We've got the national TV exposure. We've got, depending on who you ask, we got the girls. There's nothing you can't get here that you can't get anywhere else, man. Come to Auburn. Damn it. We need you. That's my recruiting pitch.
I was about to say, yeah.
We need
got
a recruiting finger.
Jazzy Joe says we get the 50 ball because he's in Virginia. The one time I don't think
he's right around the corner.
Hey, man. Oh, he said he was. I saw a comment. He said he was in D.C. last night, but I was down sick yesterday, so I wouldn't be able to get up with him anyway. But next time, Jazzy, don't ever roll through Virginia, and you could park the rig out in front of my building. It's too big for them. It's too big for them to tow.
I was about to say they put a boot on that big thing.
Yeah, don't get him hemmed up like that, Jazzy. And he says y'all go vote for SUNY for the ESPYs.
Yeah, SUNY.
Yeah, we need to post. We need to put something out there for that for sure.
Love it.
So, all right, go ahead and tell the people, man. We're at the end of the show. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us, man, for so long, man. Tell the people why it is important to become a patron now.
Yeah, man, you want to get on board. We still have interviews coming up and you want to get early access to those. And we've got some more patron only content that we're going to be dropping in the month of July, which is right around the corner. So in July, we're going to turn up with some more patron only content. So you want to come on board with that sort of thing. For those of you who do not know, right now, you can well, not now, but tomorrow you can view the interview we had with young Zach Calzada. If you were a member, then you already have had a chance to see this and you can still go watch that right now. But tomorrow that's going to be going live on our channel for everyone.
Yeah.
As far as members, we have Marquise Burks that is live right now, and you can go and check that out. So make sure that you are getting your membership benefits by being able to check out these interviews. These have been great interviews. Has been great to be able to talk to these athletes, and we are not done. We still have more left to come for you all. If you didn't get an opportunity to win the giveaway today, you can always go to our merch store. TheWarReport.com is the website. Go there, patronize us, hit the catalog button to be able to see all of the different things we have available there for merch, and go purchase something and support us out there as you're rocking, bopping around whatever town it is that you're in. The Lee County Humane Society is who we are partnered with to hashtag Save All the Puppies. If you want to donate there, make sure you go and hit the About section or on our website. The link to that GoFundMe is available there. We are the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report on all of your podcast platforms. Make sure that you check us out there to get all of your conversations that we have. We do have podcast exclusive conversations that we are dropping on there from time to time. So you guys make sure that you are available to hear that stuff as you're on the go.
Yeah.
And guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Before you get out of here, if you're on social media, share this video using hashtag Get Your Weight Up. Before you get out of here, also smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe and the notification bell. Guys, we're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're out there at the War Report. Definitely go out there and follow us. And we're at TW Report on TikTok. That concludes what we got. We got an extra one.
Yeah, we got last.
I see this one, Mr. Tyrone. Let's see here. Why do you guys think we are in a recruiting slump? Was it the fake rumors about our coach? I'm also wondering who started the rumors. Also, do you think one of the players who transferred out could have started a rumor?
From the rumor standpoint, I don't have a ton to say about that we haven't already said. I do think that it's hurt. B. Matt said this earlier in the show. I'm sure you just getting in here, Mr. Tyrone. But B. Matt did say earlier that it probably has contributed to some of the slow wait and see from some of the recruits that are coming in. And I think there was an interview recently where Zach Etheridge echoed those sentiments. He's saying that, listen, man, it definitely has been an issue for us being able to get attention from some of the recruits, not to mention we had staff turnover. So some of the relationships that happened with some of the previous coaches transferred out with them. I'm sure that some of the players leaving have had negative things to say when they get to certain places. You're going to go on a visit. You're going to be hearing from people. So there's a lot of things that contribute to it. I don't know that there's a singular thing. It's probably just a culmination of a lot. But at the end of the day, we still have our big recruiting weekend for Big Cat, and we still have football to be played in the fall. And those things will have a lot to say. Our sincere hope, or at least mine, is that a lot of the guys that we want to target have not made their decision by the early signing period. And we still have a potential to go in and flip some guys or go ahead and secure the commitment from guys who have not gone ahead and committed at the early signing period.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What you got, Mike?
Listen, they all had all the negativity had an impact. How much of an impact it had, who knows? But the rumors didn't help. I can say that much.
Yeah,
they definitely didn't help. So at the end of the day, they just got to get out there. The best way for people to forget about all that bull is to win on the field. Yep. Because if we had done that last year, the rumors would have never started. Right. I promise you, the rumors would have not started unless they were coming from a real place.
Right.
Yeah. So I just think win, man, and a lot of this goes away.
And to add to that, I know you asked about the players. I mean, obviously you had some players on their way out were talking and were saying certain things, but you have to remember too, we're in a transition period with a new coaching staff, and the chief of staff with Rondo. Is that kind of his title? He talked about less than half of the team being bought in anyway. So with such a transition like that, you're going to have some guys talk about some things about the program, but it may not necessarily be the reflection on the program as much as they were no longer a fit for where the program was heading. Mm-hmm. And I don't think the further we get away from those players leaving, I don't know if that impacts the players as much. But yeah, they were definitely part of the noise. And no, it didn't help. But to Mike G's point, you got to start winning. And from what we've been hearing, and B. Matt talked about it early on in the show, is he led with talking about how everyone appears to be on the same page, mm-hmm. from coaching staff to players, they appear to be bought into the culture Brian Harsin is setting, which puts us on track to start winning some games we need to be winning to change the perception of the program.
Right.
So TikTok at TWR Rapport, guys. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think tomorrow, for everyone who hasn't seen it or who is not a patron, you get to see the Zach Calzada interview that goes live tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that if you haven't seen it. But until then, guys, we'll see you this weekend or on this weekend show. As always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.